Welcome to the Harmonious Family Life, how to create deep connections, transform your family, and live with confidence and grace. My name is Ulrika Bilby, and my mission is to transform families and help them to create a more harmonious family life, where we all can thrive individually and together. And today, I will be speaking to Sonja Preston. Sonja is a national trainer in Australia, a manager of global training of Dunstan baby language. She's passionate about helping parents and babies off to a great start. And that begins with communication, listening and responding. Dunstan baby language has been featured on the Opera show, and this resource can be, as Opera says, life-changing. Welcome, and thank you, Sonja, for joining me today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So great. There is nothing more horrible than a baby's cries. And if you're listening to this, don't you agree?
Oh,
yeah. And what if we could just understand the baby? And that is what we're going to talk about. I think most people think that it's just, you hear a baby screaming and you think it's just noises. But what you are saying is that they're actually trying to communicate with us. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So it's super, super exciting. And I know for a fact that it is life-changing. So Sonja, why don't you tell us a little bit more? What is it that we are looking out for? What is it?
What it is, it's a communication tool. So we all know as first-time parents, and even second, third time, when that baby cries, we go through a process of elimination. They must be hungry, and we try breast or bottle feeding them. They're still not happy. They must have wind, and we try burping them, and you may get up some wind, but they're still, you just know they're not settled. Must be a wet nappy or a diaper. So we go through this process of elimination. But what if right at the start, that baby was actually telling you, I'm tired, Mum, I'm tired, Dad. And now you've tried to feed them and burp them and change their nappy, which might be 5-10 minutes. By now, the baby's actually screaming at you. And if they were tired, trying to settle a screaming baby is much harder than a baby who's just a bit tired. And often then they don't sleep as well and they wake up cranky and it's a mess. And usually by the time a baby is about 4 months old, we seem to have worked it out without actually knowing what these sounds are that I'm going to tell you about in a moment. But we seem to know, they actually, dirty their nappy around 10 o'clock in the morning. And usually they're awake for this long before they go back to sleep. So through habit and maybe a bit of time management, we sometimes work it out, but later. But imagine if you could have that right from the start, so you didn't have to do all that guesswork and have a crying baby and possibly a crying mother as well. So, yeah.
That sounds like magic. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about the, the science behind it?
Yeah, so a lady called Priscilla Dunstan gave birth to her baby in the late 1990s. Now, she had auditory memory, meaning that if she heard a sound here and she was somewhere else, she'd go, that's the same sound I heard at Sonja's place. That sort of process. She understood sound because of this auditory memory. So when she had her son, she felt she recognized different sounds in that pre-crying, that early crying stage. But it was the same sound he always made when he was hungry or when he was tired or when he had wind. And so she thought, I'm good with my son, my ears and my son, we connect, But then if she met you, she'd hear the same sounds. And is your baby hungry? You sure? Yeah. And often, you check, and often we checked our watches or phones. That's right. It is time to feed him. So she recognized it wasn't just her baby and her doing it. It was multiple babies. And because she was living in Australia, maybe there was a thought that it was white Australia, English speaking babies. But then gradually realized, well, if she heard German babies crying or Chinese babies crying, they still made these same sounds in the pre-cry. Yeah. So that question about what there's more to this than that, there's more to this, led her to be involved in gathering data globally. And eventually a study was done by Brown University in America, which sort of basically confirmed what she had thought, that these sounds are universal. They're not culturally based. They are all the same. Well, why are they all the same? Then the realization came that they're actually reflex based. So when a baby is hungry, it automatically, we're talking about newborn babies here in the first, say, 4 months. When the baby is hungry, it automatically starts the sucking reflex. And when an infant does that, the tongue goes up to the roof of the mouth and then comes down to compress on the nipple or the teat to get the milk. And when your tongue is in that position of going up and down, and as soon as I say this, my tongue's trying to do this in my mouth, but the only sound you can make is an N sound. So it's ne, 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 or it can be N-U-H, na, but it's that N sound. And that tells you the baby is hungry, because if they're not making that sound, they're not hungry, because as soon as they do start the sucking reflex, they make that sound, and they don't make it at other times.
Fascinating. So what you're saying, that all these sounds are built on reflexes, and therefore they are the same. They're universal for a baby when they come out.
Yeah. So there's a stimulus, I'm hungry, and the reflex kicks in for my mouth and tongue to start doing the sucking reflex in this example. And then that sound comes out. So we're actually talking about the sounds in the pre-cry before they're screaming. So it's like they're saying, Mummy, I'm hungry. Mummy, I'm hungry. Mummy, I'm hungry. And then they get to a stage where they're screaming, Mummy, I'm hungry. By then you've lost that sound. You can't hear it easily. So it's the pre-cry we're looking at rather than when they're full on screaming. So, and it's always good to get in early. So would you like to hear this sound, the nut sound?
Yes, I would love to hear it. So everyone, we're just like now going to hear a baby sound, and yeah, we just be attentive.
Yes, so it's the N sound you're listening for. There's quite a few babies making this sound. So you'll notice they're all a little bit different, because as humans, we are a little bit different. And some of these babies might have just started making it, so they're going, I'm hungry, and some are a bit more intense, like I'm hungry. So let's see if you can hear the N sound. So I've just played a few of them there. Did you hear the N sound, the net sound?
I did. And especially in the beginning, when it was, quite precise, I could really hear it. And then it, you recognize and you can feel it, that yourself going tense when you just hear the baby actually start crying. So by doing this, by listening to our babies and understanding our babies and meet their needs, we really need to be attentive and connected.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise we miss it.
That's right. And this pre-cry sound happens before you get the visual clues. So, for example, if a baby's tired, we often start to see them doing, they put their hands in front of their face, or they even turn away from the stimulus, from the noise, the visual clues in front of us. And we start to recognize it, and they might even get droopy eyes. But before that comes this reflex that in the case of tiredness, it's an O shape, an ow shape. I haven't got that audio in front of me, but it's oh, or ow. So it's an oval shape, a bit like when you're doing a yawn. So you will hear that sound before you see the other clues or cues that the baby may be tired.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's really important to listen in the beginning. And sometimes when I'm teaching this to parents, when I put the sounds on, because there is normally video clips of it as well, I actually turn that off, or I say, close your eyes and just listen. Because we need to tune our ears in to listening to this in order to be able to ascertain, well, what sound are they making? What are they telling me?
So the second one is then what you say on the yawning reflex. So it makes an O sound more.
Yes. So there's actually 5 sounds that have been identified and had the studies done and the data collected that we now know that that's definitely what it is. So there's sounds for I'm hungry, I'm tired, I've got wind in the upper portion of my chest, I've got wind that has gone down further, so that's coming out the bottom end. And then when the skin is irritated in some way, and that could be my nappy's wet or dirty, I'm too hot, too cold, uncomfortable, but the skin is irritated. So that's the reflex in that one. So I have one more for you to listen to. And this is one of the 5 sounds you actually never want to hear. Well, I mean, it's still a clue that something's going on and you need to do something. You actually want to avoid this, and I'll tell you how to avoid it after. And I'm just going to play it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. So I think you could hear that one's a more intense cry. Do you know what that one is?
Well, it sounds like they are in pain.
Yes.
And yes, like it's really, agony.
Yeah. So the other 4 sounds, the baby's telling you something and they're uncomfortable because they're hungry and I want to feed. My nappy's wet and I want it changed. So they're uncomfortable, but not what you would call super stressed or distressed. This one is when they are distressed, because that sound indicates lower wind pain. So they've had a little bit of an air bubble that hasn't been brought up either by baby themselves or by mum or dad supporting them and patting them, and it's stayed in the upper chest, but then potentially it's either gone down or mum or dad's given them another feed and that extra milk has pushed that bubble down, and so it's in the lower portion of your body. So then it's actually got, you know, quite a long way to go before it gets out. And this sound, which is air, it's dragged out, as you heard there, it's dragged out, but the baby will generally be red in the face because they're screaming, they're pulling their hands and knees up, you know, really clenched, because they're trying to push this wind out, but it's got a long way to go before it goes out. So the way to eliminate that is to know, when do I burp my baby? We obviously want to burp when the wind is in the upper portion of the chest. So what happens for that is the sound that they make is EH. So it's and you'll hear the babies go and they'll repeat it. It doesn't sound super distressed, but you know something's not right. And what you'll often find visually then is they're squirming around like this. And obviously the muscles in their chest trying to support them in bringing the wind up. Excuse me.
Yes, so that's the burping that they want to get out.
Absolutely. So if we as a parent support the child to burp, then we can generally eliminate that wind going down and causing that horrible pain, where they are very, very unhappy. And it can go on for hours. I now know, I didn't know about Don's till way past I'd had my children. And I now go, oh, that's what my daughter had, my first daughter. She did that screaming pain a lot of the time. I didn't know. And this is the thing, that can eliminate a lot of stress for both parents and babies. If baby's telling you, I need something, you as the parent or caregiver give them or support them in dealing with that, then you have a content baby because their needs have been met. You've got a parent who feels like this parenting thing, particularly in the early days, which are like, what have I got myself into? Well,
Yes.
This is mind-boggling, and so, you end up with if you want to call it, a more happy, content family, because the baby's needs are being met and the parents are feeling comfortable and confident in their ability to work with the baby.
Well, this is an amazing tool, because I think what you just said, when you hear a baby, you try all these different things. And I can imagine if you have that cry that you just we listened to just last, and then you feed them, it is like then continues like a cycle. And that's what you do. You try it again, you feed them, you try this, you try that. So yes, it could be so stressful to hear a baby, for the parent and for the baby, and for everyone else around as well. So this is an amazing tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And the wonderful thing is, as well as all that, is that, I don't know, I was going to say it's wonderful. I know that you learnt Dunstan with one of your children, and I find, you were telling me that you can still hear other babies' cries and identify them. And it's a long time since you learnt it, isn't it?
It is.
It sticks with
yes. You. And for me, it was the sound. It was the burping sound that was so clear to me. And because I then could hear the sound and put him up on the shoulder and get the burp out, he didn't cry that much.
No.
Which was, amazing. And I actually got it from my sister, this the DVD, and I listened to it. And once you get a hang of it, and once you know what you're looking for, and also then are really trying to connect with your baby, it's something that's doable. And I think that's what's also one of the great things about it. It's that it's doable.
Absolutely. And I think the other really wonderful thing, the research over the last, I don't know, maybe 20 years, I'm guessing, about what we call secure attachment. So we're not just talking about attachment in terms of breastfeeding, but the relationship the child has with the parent or caregiver. And so secure attachment happens when the baby learns to trust that this person will meet my needs. So if I'm hungry, they'll feed me. If I'm tired, they will help me go to sleep. And so when that trust develops over time, it actually helps their brain development, which you think, how can that be? But if my infant trusts me, then when they're at the crawling stage and they crawl away from me, still in sight, but away from me, and they look around and, oh, I'm a bit scared, they know they can trust that I will be there to come and get them and support them. So by doing that, they've actually explored a new part of the world. I'm pointing over there, you can't see over there, but they're exploring a new part of the world. And as babies look around the world more, they learn more information, which helps develop more neural pathways in the brain. So to me, it's just such a wonderful resource. And I still get blown away when a parent, the lights come on and they go, I can do this. I understand. I can hear it, So it's quite amazing.
Yeah, and very empowering for the parent too, to actually feel like I can help my baby. I know what to do. Because to become a parent is, overwhelming as it is.
Yes.
So just that fact as well, that you feel like you actually can do something for your child, and, for everyone else, even, you have a baby for a little while, but as you said, for me, I can help other people as well because I know this, which is just amazing. So thank you so much for sharing this. I love this tool. Is there something that you want to share? Anything last share that you want to tell the audience?
Yeah, we have a new app that's just come out called Dunstan Baby. So you can search for it and you should be able to find it, which has this on it, the Dunstan how to do it sort of thing, and the understanding of the cries and so forth. We also have a parent course that you can do online, and you can find that at dunstanbaby.com. And both of those are going to be useful to you. So I say to people, the app is a really good starting point. Doing the course will be of more benefit to you because you get more information. And then we do have educators and trainers globally who can support you if you want face-to-face. A little bit tricky in COVID times, but generally, we have people globally who are certified in Dunstan Baby.
Yeah, well, and until the world open up, this works too, to be able to listen. So
Good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And everyone, go in and have a look on that app and start listening. And we will connect you on the email that we sent out as well. So if you want to know more, just go in there. So thank you so much for being here today. And we'll be excited to see what the future brings.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.